Part 125. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1241. Chapter 1241 Manman's life and death are unknown. 7. The kayak had no oars, so she could only rely on her hands to control it and slowly chase Kenny. It took nearly half an hour to catch up with him, and then she used her weak body to drag him to the shore. At that time, Kenny had fainted, his eyes were closed tightly, and he had lost his intuition, but he was still breathing, although it was very weak. Jian-Yuman didn't think much at the moment. She put Kenny into the kayak, and then used her weak body to drag Kenny to find someone. Although you are still alive for the time being, you don't know how long you can hold on. Falling from such a high place is not a trivial matter, and many people will die. However, Jian-Yuman had very little strength and dragged Kenny for a long distance. Her hands were worn out and her lower abdomen still hurt slightly, but she still persisted. Fortunately, the emperor paid off. After Jian-Yuman dragged Kenny for an hour, he finally met a person. With the kind help of the other person, he came to the hospital in the town. The moment she arrived at the hospital, Jian-Yuman also fainted. Fatigue means that her heart is full of fatigue and she has no extra energy to support her. She has long been exhausted. After waking up, Jian-Yuman, after making sure Kenny was still breathing, just reached out and inserted a lot of instruments. Her complexion looked very bad, which made people worried. At this moment the doctor and nurse came in and saw Jian-Yuman regaining consciousness and said with a smile, "You're awake." "Doctor, how is my friend?" When Jian-Yuman saw the doctor, she immediately flew over and grabbed the doctor's clothes, asking anxiously. "Kenny didn't wake up even though I called him just now, but I was scared to death. The patient is still very weak now. Although his life is not in danger for the time being, it's just." The doctor said a lot about Kenny's condition. Although Jian-Yuman didn't understand, he heard the key points. It's not life-threatening and he will recover after a period of recovery. There will be no sequelae, which also makes Jian-Yuman breathe a sigh of relief. "Thank you, doctor." The doctor and nurse left after checking Kenny's condition and instructing Jian-Yuman to rest. Jian-Yuman looked at Kenny's pale face and sat on the edge, his face full of grievance and distress. "Appa, why are you so stupid? Fortunately, you are okay this time. If something happens to you, what do you want me to do in the future? I will feel guilty and will be beaten to death by your admirers from all over the world." Jian-Yuman was talking to herself, and most of the words contained complaints, but her fear could be heard. The moment she saw Kenny fall, Jian-Yuman almost went crazy. She thought she would never see Kenny again in her life. Fortunately, he has a great fortune and will be fine as long as he takes care of himself for a while. But I'm still full of fear. Jian-Yuman stood up and was going to lie down on the bed next door to rest for a while, but she felt some pain in her lower abdomen. "Oops, why did I forget to ask the doctor about my physical condition just now?" Jian-Yuman tapped her forehead and only asked about Kennedy's forehead condition, forgetting to ask herself. Jian-Yuman looked down at her hands. The scars on her hands had been bandaged, but she forgot that she was a pregnant woman. How could she be fine after falling from such a high place? The pain in her lower abdomen became more and more uncomfortable. Jian-Yuman stood up from the ground and glanced at her lower body. The sight frightened her almost to death. There was actually an eye-catching blood stain on her lower body, flowing down the root of her thigh. "Ah, doctor, doctor, help." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1242. Chapter 1242. The child is gone. 1. "Ah, doctor, doctor, help." Hunting blood flowed from the roots of her thighs, stinging her eyes. Her brain felt like someone had hit it hard with a hammer, and she was completely stunned. Jian-Yuman felt her lower abdomen hurt even more and kept screaming and shouting. What to do? Child. Her baby. The painful feeling of losing the little princess reappeared, and she became pregnant again. Both she and Tanyuj were looking forward to the appearance of this little guy, and also hoped that he would also be a little girl, so that they would have a son and a daughter. I had been worried about Kenny before and had no time to worry about my own body, so I ignored the baby. The baby must be having a tantrum and wants to punish mommy. Baby, mommy knows she was wrong, please stop being angry, okay? Jian-Yuman knelt on the ground, holding the hospital bed with both hands, and kept shouting. Doctor, help. The doctor who was called by Jian-Yuman hurried over with the nurse. After coming in, they immediately gathered around Kenny's ward and conducted an emergency check without looking at Jian-Yuman who was kneeling on the ground. Save my child. Jian-Yuman didn't understand why the doctor came in to check Kenny first. She roared even louder. She felt that her lower body was bleeding faster, and her eyes were red with tears. Fall down. After a brief examination, the doctor looked at Jian-Yuman with a confused expression. Is there something wrong with this lady's brain? It seems that her insistence on love is not thorough enough, and she should be given other examinations. Miss, this gentleman is not in danger. What is your name? It's not him, it's me. I have fetal force and I'm bleeding, Jian-Yuman shouted in pain, holding her belly and crying, and she was extremely anxious. This doctor is blind. Didn't he see her bleeding? The nurses looked at the doctor blankly, and the doctor also said in confusion. Why do you feel fetal movement? Are you pregnant? You're not talking nonsense. You're a quack doctor and you don't even do a good examination. I'm a pregnant woman. Look at me, I'm bleeding. Jian-Yuman was angry and annoyed. It wasn't because she wasn't in good health right now. She wanted to rush over and give each of them a drink. Feet, give these quacks a good wake-up call. If the children are gone, let's see if she kills them. The doctor quickly looked at Jian-Yuman and was shocked when he saw her lower body bleeding, and immediately asked Jian-Yuman to lie down for emergency rescue. In an instant, the ward turned into a mess, and everyone rushed Jian-Yuman to the emergency room for rescue. 15 minutes later, Jian-Yuman sat on the hospital bed with an embarrassed look on her face. She wanted to cry but tried hard to smile awkwardly. She glanced at the nurse who was giving her an IV and trying not to laugh out loud. Seeing the nurse's expression, she became even more embarrassed and wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in. It has been a long time since she was so embarrassed. Thinking of the scene where she was crying and shouting and wanting to kill the doctor, she wanted to commit seppuku and commit suicide. Okay, wait until the infusion is finished, ring the bell and we will come. No need to shout, the angel in white said with a smile. Trouble. Jian-Yuman smiled awkwardly, covering her hot belly with her little hand, and pressed it against Nuan Bao's belly. After the nurse left, Jian-Yuman immediately lay down and covered her face with one hand. At this moment, she felt that her face was still burning. Looking back on just now, I cried and yelled for the doctor to save the child. As a result, all the nurses and doctors were at a loss. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1243. Chapter 1243. The child is gone too. Looking back on just now, I cried and yelled for the doctor to save the child. As a result, all the nurses and doctors were at a loss. After the war broke out, Jian-Yuman realized what was going on after the doctors burst into laughter. What the hell? She is not pregnant at all. This news completely confused Jian-Yuman, who was still anxious about whether she would fall off. At that time, She pointed at the doctor and yelled, saying that he was lying and that in order to cover up their failure, he had to pretend that she had a miscarriage and was not pregnant. Finally, after some good talk from the doctors and nurses, they realized that she was really not pregnant. The reason why she was bleeding was because her aunt arrived 2 months late. Her stomachache was also menstrual pain, and it was not a miscarriage. After applying the warm baby patch, changing the sanitary napkin, and applying intravenous drip, she felt much better and calmed down, and found that it was really her aunt who was in pain. If it was a miscarriage, how could she recover so quickly, and the amount of bleeding was not much? It was obvious that she had misunderstood. What a shame. Now the doctors and nurses must be behind her back and telling her jokes. It's all because of the inaccurate pregnancy test stick that caused such a big joke. Looking back at this, I didn't even go to the hospital for a checkup during the time I was in the imperial capital. It's better now. Shame on Dafa. But when I thought about not being pregnant, I still felt a little disappointed. Oh, baby, how sad mommy is without you, Jian sighed, covering her belly, lying down to prepare for sleep and regain her energy. There was a chaos of war, and the originally quiet hospital suddenly exploded into chaos as a bunch of heavyweights arrived. Helicopters hovered over the hospital, and a large number of people rushed into the hospital. They were also surrounded by this group of people. The hospital was blocked. Tanyuj, who had a monster face, rushed in anxiously, grabbed a passing doctor and yelled, "Take me to Ward 302 quickly." Yes, the doctor was startled by Tanyuj's terrifying aura, and immediately took Tanyuj to ward number 302. Just when Tanyuj opened the door and entered the ward, he heard Jian murmuring inside, and his face instantly turned pale. He pushed away the doctor who was blocking the way, rushed in quickly, and took Jian who was lying on the bed into his arms. I'm sorry, I failed to protect you," and the baby Tanyuj hugged Jian tightly, touching her hair distressedly, his eyes were red with sadness. "But it's okay, as long as she is still alive, everything is still in time. If you want any number of children in the future, they can have them, as long as she is still alive." Jian, who was tightly held in Tanyuj's arms, had a bright smile on her face and hugged Tanyuj back. "It feels so good to still be alive and holding him. It's just that," upon hearing Tanyuj's words, Jian eyes flashed with a cunning light, and she hugged Tanyuj and cried, "Mr. Tang, the baby is gone, our child is gone." Jian cry made Tanyuj cry and feel distressed, so he hurriedly comforted her. "I'm sorry, it's because I didn't protect you well. It doesn't matter if we don't have children. We can have children in the future. Aren't we still young? It doesn't matter even if we can't have children in the future. We already have little Mickey." Jian pretended to cry, and Tanyuj patiently coaxed her and said a lot of words, which made Jian, who was pretending to cry, unable to bear it anymore and burst into laughter. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1244. Chapter 1244 The Child is Gone 3. Jian pretended to cry, and Tanyuj patiently coaxed her and said a lot of words, which made Jian, who was pretending to cry, unable to bear it anymore and burst into laughter. Jian laughter frightened Tanyuj even more. He touched her face and patted her face, frowning and panicked. "Oh. Jian, are you crazy? You can have another child in the future, but don't be so sad that you go crazy." "Who is crazy?" Jian scolded the doctor and slapped Tanyuj hard, with a bright smile on her face. You see, you can still laugh now. I know this is a big blow to you, and I am also very sad. We have to face it together. Stop laughing." Tanyuj really thought Jian was sad. "Too much, it's like this. Yuman laughed so loudly that she pulled the needle in her hand, and suddenly a flood came out of her lower body. Ouch, I laughed so hard that my blood flowed faster. Yuman covered her belly and adjusted her posture. Yuman's words frightened Tanyuj again, and he immediately started shouting. Doctor, doctor! Tanyuj shouted, and the doctors waiting outside and the personal doctors invited by Tanyuj swarmed in and came in to take care of these ancestors. You all get out. Yuman grabbed the quilt, buried her face in the quilt, and chased the others. But Tanyuj couldn't let the doctors go. He pulled the doctor and said Yuman was still bleeding, so come and rescue her. The personal doctor came over immediately without knowing the situation, while Yuman's attending physician understood what was going on and stood aside calmly, with a few big words floating in his mind. This couple is so funny. You all get out, Tanyuj, stay alone. Yuman covered her face and shouted, causing another flood under her body. What did you say? Mr. Tang, I'm not pregnant and I don't need a doctor. Tanyuj was stunned, and instantly understood something. Under the same eyes of the two doctors, he drove the doctors out. Ms. Yuman, please explain clearly, what are you doing? What does it mean that you are not pregnant? That's the literal meaning. Then you said it was bleeding. That's not why I'm here to bleed. He gave Tanyuj an idiot look. Then when I came in, why were you crying that the child was gone? Is it gone? What's wrong? We all thought I was pregnant, but now we know I'm not pregnant. My aunt came home late. Doesn't this mean there is no child? So I hugged you and cried sadly. Yuman was very innocent. He blinked at Tanyuj with his big eyes. There is nothing wrong with what she said. It was you, Mr. Tang, who misunderstood. Tanyuj almost vomited blood at this moment, but he still couldn't tell that this woman was teasing him. Are you having fun teasing me? Tanyuj sighed helplessly. It's not fun. I'm just calming down my anger. Yuman stuck out her tongue playfully. She can't be the only one who feels this kind of nervousness, she has to hold Tanyuj to feel it together no matter what. I know you are powerful, but you didn't scare me enough today. After Yuman woke up, she realized that she had been asleep for 10 hours. She asked the nurse to borrow a phone to call Tanyuj. Unexpectedly, he rushed over in just 10 minutes. I guess the person was looking for her nearby. Tanyuj rushed over after learning about Yuman's accident. He didn't sleep a wink all night. After getting off the plane, he went to the bottom of the cliff to look for Yuman. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1245. Chapter 1245. The child is gone. 4. Tanyuj rushed over after learning about Yuman's accident. He didn't sleep a wink all night. After getting off the plane, he went to the bottom of the cliff to look for Yuman. These 10 hours have been an incomparable torment for Tanyuj. Facing the pain of losing Yuman again, even for just 1 minute, he doesn't want to experience it again. I'm sorry, I protected you. I'm sorry. Tanyuj felt sad and blamed himself, hugging Yuman tightly. It's okay. It's not your fault. Who would have thought that these people would not let me go and actually sent a large number of people? They were obviously organized and purposeful. Yuman comforted her easily, which could be seen from the way he hugged her. From the strength, he could feel that he was really worried and going crazy. It's no use to me. I haven't found out who is setting you up behind your back. Tanyuj has not given up on tracing for half a month, who tried to kidnap Yuman in the imperial capital last time. Because of what happened last time, the protection of the former Yuman never stopped, but he did not expect that the other party would take action again the moment Yuman got off the plane. He still underestimated the other party's ability to find trouble. There are at least 100 people protecting them outside, and they will never let anyone who can get close to them. Mr. Tang, Don't worry, am I fine? I, Jian have a very tough life. I fell from such a high place, but I'm fine. I even dragged Kenny Oba ashore with me. You, Tanyuj also saw Jian bandaged hand, grabbed her paw distressedly, put it to his mouth and kissed it gently. It's okay, it's just a minor injury. Jian was still in a happy mood. The joy of escaping from death, coupled with his company, made her feel a lot more relaxed. You. Tanyuj smiled fondly, touched her face, lowered his head and kissed her red lips. The kiss was very gentle, like tasting the most delicious food in the world. A cough interrupted the man and woman who were kissing passionately. Jian and Tanyuj suddenly separated. Jian lowered his head in embarrassment, while Tanyuj raised his head arrogantly, looking at Kenny, who had just woken up, with an arrogant expression that was not to be envied. Kenny Appa, are you awake? Jian asked with concern. My whole body hurts, but I can't die at this moment. Kenny was still very weak when speaking. He was obviously still very tired, but he still tried to open his eyes and answer Jian words. Don't mention anything about death or immortality. Jian pouted. The word death is now a taboo word. When she was bungee jumping just now, she really thought that both of them would die. Especially the moment she saw Kenny falling off the cliff, she really thought she had lost this good friend. She felt so uncomfortable at that moment. She never wanted to experience it again in her life. Later at the riverside, she didn't want to lose Kenny Opa as a friend. Even though her hands were broken and her legs couldn't move, she still tried to drag her to find rescue. Fortunately, he finally survived. You're not bad, you deserve praise this time. Even though Tanyuj and Kenny were love rivals, she was very grateful to him at this moment. If it hadn't been for Kenny's rescue, the situation might have been even worse. Yes. Appa, don't take risks with yourself next time. This time we both saved a life. No matter what happens next time, your own life safety is your priority. Let me ask you, is Manman funny or not? Let me ask you, will Appa marry? Let me ask you, is your majesty handsome? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1246. Chapter 1246. Everyone gets together one. Yes. Appa, don't take risks with yourself next time. This time we both saved a life. No matter what happens next time, your own life safety is your priority. Talk about everything that happened on the edge of the cliff at that time. Jian wanted to teach Kenny a lesson. She could not accept a rescue that prioritized her own safety. Although this process was thrilling, the result was optimistic. At least none of them died. They were all blessed by God this time. Otherwise, if this happened to others, both of them might have died. If she had to choose one person to get into trouble, she still hoped that it would be her, not Kenny. I know it well. What are you counting? You didn't count at all. Jian puffed out her cheeks and taught her a lesson. If she hadn't fallen down later and had strong willpower, both of them would have died. Kenny smiled and said a lot of comforting words to Jian, but Jian scolded her, and Tanyuj also stepped in. In the end, Kenny, the injured man, was re-educated by the couple. But Jian didn't know that no matter how much she said, it would have no effect. No matter how many times he comes again, Kenny's choice at that time was always to save her. Even if it cost him his own life in the end, even if he couldn't save her in the end, he would pounce on her without hesitation to give her a chance of survival. Next, after Kenny's condition stabilized a little, he was transferred to a higher-end hospital. Although Jian was fine overall, she drank a lot of water after falling from a high altitude, and her physical strength was much exhausted, so she stayed in the ward next to Kenny. The security in the ward where Tianyuman and the others lived became very strict. Even if Chao Xiaofeng wanted to see them, he was questioned and checked for a long time, which made Tianyuman very helpless. Tangyuj has been staying with Tianyuman during this period, not going anywhere, and providing Tianyuman with delicious food and drinks. The crisis has not been averted this time, and the murderer is still at large. However, the good news is that we have some clues about who is committing the crime. It was only about a week later that we found out that these people were a very mysterious organization in the world, the Promise Organization, a large and mysterious organization. It has been around for more than 20 years, and no one knows exactly which members it has. Each member lives in all parts of the world and from all walks of life, but it is certain that most of them are excellent. Their purpose is to stir up the world and make huge fortunes. Because they are too mysterious, the direction of the investigation is also very limited. The previous operation in the imperial capital did not reveal any clues. This operation in Paris finally revealed the tail of the fox. If we follow the tail of the fox to investigate, there are still not many clues. Tangyuj and others wanted to talk to the boss of the Wuji organization, but there was no response. The boss of the Wuji organization has always been very mysterious and has never shown his face, and none of the members of the Wuji organization in society are the top leaders. Tangyuj and others did not know why they were provoked. Several attempts to communicate with people from their organization were rejected. Tangyuj and others were furious and used various channels to find out the people of Wuji organization. How could such a big time bomb survive? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1247. Chapter 1247. Everyone gets together too. Tangyuj and others did not know why they were provoked. Several attempts to communicate with people from their organization were rejected. Tangyuj and others were furious and used various channels to find out the people of Wuji organization. How could such a big time bomb survive? Even if Tangyuj is not angry, how could the richest man Bryce sit back and ignore the grudges about his son's almost death? Coupled with Kenny's friend Dongfang Xiang's power in the underworld, plus Tangyuj's own power and friends, the international influence has increased. With Lan Tianlu as a good friend, the Wuji organization is also in a state of confusion at the moment and has no time to trouble Tianyuman and Tangyuj. Just because the Wuji organization has been mysterious for more than 20 years, eradicating it is not something that can be done overnight. It may not be possible to completely eradicate it, but if you want to lure out the big boss behind the scenes, you can still have a good conversation. This period of time was relatively safe, but Tangyuj was worried and placed dozens of security guards around Tianyuman. After staying in the hospital for a week, Tianyuman recovered and announced that she could be discharged from the hospital. After being discharged from the hospital, Tianyuman did not take any time off and returned to work. After paying a little attention, you can still see that Tianyuman is protected by many bodyguards. Murongye also sent Yun Duo, his most skilled and handsome female bodyguard, to Tianyuman for personal protection. So, in the next period of time, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will have such a picture. Minister Jordan attended a large event and was accompanied by 3 or 4 bodyguards and a translator. The translator was accompanied by a female bodyguard, and secretly there were 20 or 30 bodyguards. Tianyuman has several times more bodyguards than Minister Jordan. When Tianyuman went to work, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was still relatively safe. Country F had military protection, but Yun Duo would still protect her personally. For Tianyuman's safety, Minister Jordan, under Tangyuj's kind-hearted suggestion, gave Tianyuman alone an office was arranged, and then Yun Duo protected Tianyuman in the office, and 2 bodyguards stood at the door to protect her. This beautiful scene has become a big after-dinner gossip in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Qian Yuman did not feel disgusted with the large number of bodyguards who protected her at first. After the disaster, she was still very happy and felt at ease with the protection of bodyguards. During this time, Qian Yuman also likes to run to the hospital and prepare delicious snacks for Kenny to replenish his health. Faced with Qian Yuman running to the hospital every 3 days, Tang Yuj was also very jealous after seeing what happened to Kenny. Thinking that he was doing this to protect Qian Yuman, it was not easy for him to have an attack, but he would ravage Qian Yuman every night in an attempt to make her have no energy to go to Kenny. As time went by, Qian Yuman followed her everywhere. The only time she didn't follow him was when she was sleeping, going to the toilet to take a shower, or when she was with Tang Yuj. As time goes by, Qian Yuman will also be tortured and go crazy. In Paris, Tang Yuj stayed with Qian Yuman for 3 months. After confirming that the Wuji organization itself was in a mess and had no time to act like a monster, Qian Yuman was safe for the time being, so he reluctantly left Qian Yuman and went back to prepare for the plan. The group headquarters moved to Paris. After Tang Yuj left, the number of bodyguards around Qian Yuman was also reduced to 8 people. On the day Tang Yuj left, Qian Yuman cheered and ran with joy. Finally, there was no clingy sugar baby anymore. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1248. Chapter 1248 altogether 3. After Tang Yuj left, the number of bodyguards around Qian Yuman was also reduced to 8 people. On the day Tang Yuj left, Qian Yuman cheered and ran with joy. Finally, there was no clingy sugar baby anymore. However, these 3 months of companionship have made the relationship between the two more and more harmonious. Little Mickey will be 3 years old in 3 months. During this period, Qian's mother will take care of the child. Qian Yuman's daily pleasure is to go home and watch live versions of romantic comedies. Because there are many fun things happening every day and wonderful presentations every day. At the moment, there are many guests at Qian Yuman's house in Paris. These guests have been staying for 3 or 4 months and cannot be driven away. These guests were Xian Yuanxun and his son. Tang's father was originally there. On the day Qian Yuman returned to Paris, Tang Wentao rushed back to China to deal with the mess due to Tang Feishan's matter. He was not at Qian Yuman's house for the time being, and avoided a lot of trouble. Awkward. A house that was quite big originally is now full of people. Who are there? It takes Qian Yuman a minute to count. Qian Yuman herself, Qian Xiener and Qi Zhan, as well as Qi Liliai, who had just returned, and her new boyfriend Murong Ye, a chatty person, also came with them. Chao Xiaofen naturally stayed there all the time, and Xian Kaiping and Xian Yuanxun also came. After staying for a long time, Xian Yuanxun still went out often for work, but almost everyone else, except for going out late, was at Qian Yuman's house. Even though there are so many people, the scene is still very harmonious. The scene where Qi Zhan and Xian Kaiping are jealous of Qian Xiener will always appear. In order to win Qian Xiener's heart, the two middle-aged men have to fight. Every day, new tricks are used to fight wits and courage. What makes Qian Yuman the happiest is that she obviously feels that her relationship with Xian Yuanxun is getting better and better. They seem to be friends when they get along, but Qian Yuman's sharp eyes can see that the relationship between the two is ambiguous and may happen at any time. Make up the rhythm of a pair. Of course, there is another interesting scene between Qi Liliai and Murong Ye. Murong Ye's chatting ability has only increased and he clings to Qi Lil every day. He had no identity before, but now he is her boyfriend, so naturally he is even more clingy. As for the chatter, it was quiet for a while, and then it came back again and was out of control. Sometimes Qi Liliai couldn't stand it anymore, so she threw the person out by throwing her over her shoulder, closed the door, put on earplugs and listened to music. Then Murong Ye used various methods to sneak into Qi Liliai's room, and his hair turned gray every day. Tang Yuj left and vacated a guest room. When Qian Yuman went home happily to watch the 8 o'clock drama, little Mickey rushed in quickly, hugged Qian Yuman's thigh and began to tighten her arms. Me, I'm going to run away from home. If you don't solve it, I'm really going to run away from home. Little Mickey is almost 3 years old, his body has grown taller, his speech is getting clearer and his thinking is getting smarter. But Qian Yuman rarely saw little Mickey whining so cutely, it was not an act. Little Mickey, what's wrong? Qian Yuman gently touched her son's head. Can you get everyone out of the house? There used to be only 2 of us in the house, but now there are 10 people. No, Daddy has left. Now there are 9 people. 9 people. My quiet days are gone. If you keep it up any longer, you'll be crazy. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1249. Chapter 1249 Complex Interpersonal Relationships 1. If you keep it up any longer, you'll be crazy. The most pitiable thing is that these adults are relying on their old age. What they love to do every day is to forcefully hold him and pinch his cheeks. If one of them pinches him, his cheeks will become red and swollen. Hateful people are these people, grandma and grandpa, who use themselves to express themselves every day. He is just a child. Why torture him like this? Mommy is helpless too. It is true that in the past 3 months, there have been noises every day, but everyone is a family member and their family members. She has no way to solve this situation. She can't drive them away. A fight is about to start now. Okay, Grandpa Devil is back with his stupid son. What? The stupid son of Grandpa Devil's family. Qian Yuman, who was holding little Mickey in her arms, was amused by her son's words and couldn't keep up with his brain circuit. Grandpa Devil is talking about Tang Wentao. The two are related as grandfather and grandson, and they have met once. Because Tang Wentao has a more serious expression, he keeps calling Tang Wentao Grandpa Devil. So does his silly son refer to Tang Yuj? Isn't it the number of people? Did you just leave? No, this is not the point, a fight is about to begin. After hearing this, Qian Yuman quickly ran into the house with her son in her arms. Sure enough, she saw that the situation at home had turned into a pot of porridge, a complete mess. Tang Wentao dragged his luggage and stood at the door of the villa, insisting on going in. At the moment, Xian Kaiping and his love rival Qi Zhan have a perfect tacit understanding and are united in their will. They block the door and prevent them from entering. You two old bastards, why can you live here but I can't? Tang Wentao's face was dark, and he was red-faced after arguing with the 2 old men in front of him. This is the house I bought for my daughter. Qi Zhan was confident that he bought this house. Why can I live in Xian Kaiping but not me? I'm happy, you can take care of it at this point. Qi Zhan was also angry. He couldn't drive away this love rival, and he couldn't even drive him away because of his good relationship with Xian'er. Uncles, can you let me in? Tang Feishan smiled gently, which made people feel good, but Qi Zhan was even more unhappy. Go away, you are the most unwelcome person. Do you still want to pester my daughter, Bao'er? Go away. Qi Zhan stretched out his hand to chase Tang Feishan away, and was even more dissatisfied with him. It was because of Tang Feishan that Qi Lili stayed away for 3 years without returning home. She became very angry when she saw Tang Feishan. Qian Xianer and Chao Xiaofeng moved a bench and ate melon seeds to watch the excitement. Rather than whispering among each other and watching jokes, Qian Xianer was also looking at Chao Xiaofeng and Qian Yuman, the two unruly people who were close to the red and the dark, completely staying out of the matter and pretending that they had nothing to do with her. Qian Yuman sighed deeply when he saw this picture. Well, no wonder her son wants to run away from home. Should she also run away from home and take little Mickey with her to live with Mickey's godmother for a few days? Johnny just said that he misses little Mickey very much. Qian Yuman had just prepared her clothes and was running away with little Mickey when she ran into a tall man's chest. Ouch! Sister Manman, where are you going? Mirongye was knocked down and looked down at Qian Yuman, who was holding little Mickey, and almost fell down. Qian Yuman looked up and saw Qi Lili and Mirongye coming back from outside. The corners of her mouth twitched slightly, and the scene seemed to become more chaotic. Come on, a monthly pass, a recommended vote. Let me ask you, is this relationship a mess? Chaos or not? Xiao Manman, I have a headache and want to run away from home. Little Mickey, Mommy, you must bring me with you. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1250. Chapter 1250, Complex Interpersonal Relationships 2. Let's not say much more. If you have to run away, hurry up and catch up. Qian Yuman glanced back at the scene at the door and ran away. Sister, don't be in a hurry to go back. Lili and I bought gifts for you and little Mickey just now when we were shopping. Do you want the gifts? Mirongye didn't see anything wrong with Qian Yuman at all, and pulled her to ask for it. Put the gift in her hand. Ha! No, I'm in a hurry to get out. Qian Yuman pushed away the gift and glanced at the door again. This time she noticed that Chao Xiaofeng, who was among the group of people arguing at the door, had seen her. Oops! Manman, Lili and President Mirong are back. Look, there are so many guests at home. Chao Xiaofeng deliberately raised her voice and shouted loudly. The smile on her face was sweet and cute, and she blinked her innocent eyes. He looked at Qian Yuman. Qian Yuman froze, glared angrily at her friend, clapped her son's hand, and looked at each other to convey her helplessness. Lili Tang Feishan's eyes lit up when he saw Qi Lili. He walked up to her and greeted her with a smile. Haven't seen you for a long time. Qi Lili looked a little embarrassed and glanced at Mirongye. Tang Feishan, why are you here again? The smile on Mirongye's face disappeared instantly, and he looked at Tang Feishan with eager eyes. He took a step forward, blocked Qi Lili's figure, and completely separated the two people. Tang Feishan kept looking at Qi Lili with gentle eyes. I'm here to see Lili. Lili, I haven't seen you for 3 months. How are you doing? Hey, you kid, you think I'm dead? You ask me how a woman is doing. How she's doing is none of your business. Go away, don't come here, you're not welcome here, leave quickly, be careful with me. Let my wolf dog bite you. Mirongye was very unhappy at being completely ignored. If Qi Lili wasn't behind him, he might have grabbed Tang Feishan's clothes and thrown them out. Mirongye Tang Feishan was a little annoyed by Mirongye's feeble behavior. Why are you calling me? Mirongye held back his mouth and held Qi Lili's waist deliberately and possessively, smiling brightly, showing off his sovereignty. Chaos! What a chaos! Qian Yuman hugged her son and prepared to sneak away. Tang Wentao, who had sharp eyes, saw it and stopped entangled with Qi Zhan and walked up to Qian Yuman. Can I hug him? Tang Wentao, who already knew little Mickey's grandson, looked at little Mickey with burning eyes. Grandson? No. Little Mickey turned around and hugged Mommy's neck, shaking his head in refusal. Mr. Tang, you won't be allowed to hold the child. Qian Yuman faced Tang Wentao again. She still felt strange inside. She couldn't coax him away with a bad face. After all, The person in front of her was Tang Yu's father. Although the relationship between Tang Wentao and Tang Yu had dropped to a freezing point 3 years ago, with Grandma Tang as the mediator, although the relationship between the two father and son was not good, at least it was not completely broken. The middle-aged man in front of me will become his father-in-law sooner or later. Tang Wentao didn't force himself to hold little Mickey in his arms, but his eyes were still very hot and his expression was still as serious as ever. I want to live here, do you have any objection? This. Qian Yuman thought that she still had some objections. The room was vacated by Tang Yu when he left today. Tang Wentao, do I agree to your moving in? Qi Zhan walked over dissatisfied. Tang Wentao pointed at little Mickey and then at Qian Yuman. End of this chapter.